everyone. Welcome to another episode of Evolve. I am your host, Monette Brann-Natta. I'm so happy to have you here and sharing some energy with me today. I want to first start off for February to sprinkle a little love. All month we'll be doing this, to sprinkle a little love. And this week, the love that I would like to sprinkle is on all of my listeners. After last week's show, I was met with an energetic deluge of texts and emails and messages and calls and even some snail mail. And I can't explain to you how incredible that felt to be supported, what incredible support you guys extended me, and I do not have enough words to thank you. So I send that love right back to you with humble gratitude and appreciation. I especially want to thank Laura. If you're listening this week, Laura, you extended me a very vigilant and vulnerable message. You know, guys, as we get older, we have friends that we had in our childhood, and we may see them on Facebook and may have really fond memories of them, but not want to reach out because we don't want to appear not cool or we don't want to infringe on their new life or whatever the case may be. And Laura, I want to thank you because you reminded me of the work of Brene Brown, who's done some really great TED Talks about vulnerability and written some amazing books, Dr. Brene Brown, about vulnerability. And you really extended yourself and reminded me of the adage that I always share, which is energy is shared. And you spoke about thinking of me during that time very strongly and wanting to contact me and reaching out energetically. So I thank you for that. I thank you for being vulnerable today. I thank you for sharing your energy with me then. Who knows how much strength I may have borrowed at that time unwittingly. And I will predict for you that that will be returned to you in spades, that someone will surprise you with a great declaration of love and consideration and kindness. And it meant so much to me. So thank you, Laura. Last week, we talked about Fallujah, the love of self, in the show that we did. And this week we're going to focus on Pragma, the long-standing love that evolves over the duration of a long-term relationship or marriage. With Pragma love, there are many stages. And in his book, The Enlightened Marriage, the 5 transformative stages of marriage and why it is the best is yet to come, Dr. Jed Diamond outlines the 5 stages of love, which are falling in love, becoming a couple, disillusionment, yeah guys, that's there too, creating a real and lasting love, and finally, using the power of 2 to change the world. And we will unpack all of that together, but first we're going to spend a little time with my guest for today. Now, everybody has a story to tell, and I believe that they have a thing to teach and wisdom to offer. Usually this insight is ascertained over years of trial and error, falling down, getting back up, and it's really how we grow and how we're able to reach plateaus and sweeping vistas along our ascent of this mountain called life. From this space, this vista where we take our refreshment and rest, we have something to offer. My guest today is taking time to give back and share with us some of the lessons she's learned over her 20 years of marriage. And it is in this way that Nery is starting to initiate the 5th stage we just talked about of love, which is using the power of 2 to change the world. Nery has always had a love of children and a family-first perspective, so it is no surprise that her husband shared a similar affinity of a love of family and children. It was this mutual love that has really been the glue that initially bonded them over time, and that bond has sustained their connection throughout the duration of that 20 years. But if you think she's just a mother and a wife, you would be mistaken. Nery has learned that the key to having enough to give her family is taking the time to give something back to herself. And through the ascending ranks of an active Boy Scout mother, an unofficial quote-unquote basketball coach, a daughter, a wife, a sounding board, and a friend, Nery made the time to diligently do her own homework and was the first person in her family to graduate college with a bachelor's degree, no less. And after she comes home and unpacks the van full of tents and coolers and boy stuff, because Nery values inclusion and fellowship and friendship, she would get busy planting seeds for the relaxing girls' weekends that would bring together her very diverse group of friends for much needed recharging. This is how Nery teaches balance by taking action and demonstrating the ways in which we can nurture ourselves. And like any teacher worth her salt, she doesn't just talk about it, she is about it, meaning she walks her talk. And I'm so glad for you guys to get to meet her today and share some energy. And I want to welcome you to the show, Nery. So good to have you here.
Thank you. Wow, what an introduction.
That's kind of my jam. I like doing the intros. I really like that, especially when you're deserving of it. And that is the truth. You are a person who really values inclusion and friendship. But you've taught me an observation, an example, that it's okay to say no to some things. It's okay to take time for yourself. And I'll tell the listeners before we get started that you are a Gemini. And my mother's a Gemini, so I really respect that energy. You guys are very sure when you're sure of what it is that you want and what you need. And you guys have a really healthy way of having boundaries. A lot of the Gemini women I've encountered are really good at saying no to things or saying yes to things if they want to. And I don't find you to be in a people-pleasing mode. Personally, that's my observation. You might feel differently, but it's really taught me like it's okay to take time for yourself. So I've just told the listeners a little bit about you. And can you tell me and tell them how you and your husband met?
We met one summer when I was home from school, from college. I went to Rutgers in New Brunswick. And my family lived on a block. It was called 16th Ave, and there was like 14 rows of family, and we just all grew up on this block. And he was outside playing dominoes with my aunts and her best friend, and they were all just playing dominoes. And I came home from school and I wanted to join in, summer fun on the stoop.
Yep, summer fun on the stoop. I spent some summers in Brooklyn, and I definitely know about summer fun on the stoop. So you're out there and you're playing dominoes, you join in, and you guys have some kind of chemistry. I kind of often hear people talking about having known within the first date that they're going to end up with a person, or that person might eventually be their spouse. Was there any inclination that he had some traits that you were looking for or that you related to during your first date?
Well, what I remember the most is I'm godmother to my cousins, my aunt's two children, and he had two young children of his own. They were 3 and 2. And what I remember the most is as we were playing dominoes, we were both tentative or attentive, if I'm using the word correctly, to the children that were like running up and down the block, meaning me, my god kids, and him, his children, who are so cute.
Okay, so you guys were kind of out of everybody there watching the kids. You guys are babysitting in your own way.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are always very aware of the children around us.
And this seems to be something that carries on all these years later. So that's what kind of what I was talking about, listeners, with that being the thing that attracted them and kind of the glue. And so I want to know, and we're going to get right into it, girl. How long did it take for you guys to get serious?
I want to say like 3 to 6 months, because at the time I met him, I was a college freshman. I was, as you know, I'm really into dancing and music, so I was clubbing like 5 nights out of the week, I want to say, so I was out a lot, and he did try to join in with that. So after seeing him around for like 3 to 6 months, I'm like, oh, okay, this dude is going to stay hanging around. He really likes me. And, he would take me out, and he would go clubbing with me. He wouldn't dance, but he'd be there,
Keeping an eye from the side. Okay. So in our society, especially in this month of like Valentine's month and all that stuff, I really try to pull away from just celebrating that day, but really focusing on love for the whole month. But in our society, it feels like the consensus is that women are the ones who are chomping at the bit to get married. Like we're all just, really wanting that. And there's societal pressures and the internal clock and all that stuff happening. Was that the case for you?
No, not at all. I was so into like partying and doing what I wanted to do with my godkids, and I've always been like not an extrovert, but I like to be involved in many things. So I just wanted to be out and about. I didn't want to be tied down. I didn't want to have to answer to anyone. And he never made me feel like, roped in, like, you can't do this, you can't do that. So I guess that's how he won me over, because he would let me be my crazy self and join in sometimes without restricting me.
Okay, guys, so everybody listening, women, men, everybody, that might be the key to really attracting your partner, is not making them feel suffocated. You'll have to know what kind of partner you have, but for Nery's personality, the fact that he was very involved and kind of from the sidelines, making sure she was okay and kind of staking his claim, but not making her feel suffocated with him tightening the noose and saying, you're mine. And which is interesting too, because both of you are Puerto Rican. Is that right, Nery?
Yes.
And culturally, from what some of my Puerto Rican friends have shared with me, they say that that's not at all how relationships go. And that's why I am always very interested in the way that you two have figured out a balance in conducting your relationship, because it really steps away from the cultural norms. And we'll get into a little bit about that as we go along. So, okay. So for you, you were not the one chomping at the bit. It kind of was the other way around. How did he indicate to you that he was interested in marrying you?
Well, one day I remember he had gotten his divorce papers and they were finalized. And I was just with him and supporting him in that moment, and we were just talking, and he accidentally said to me as I was walking away, I think I was chasing one of the kids, like, I think I love you, or something like that. And I turned back around and I was like, what? What'd you just say? And he's like, nothing at all. So at that point, in my own head, I heard him. So in my own head, I was like, did he just say he loved me? But you know what? I think I'm in love with him too. And from there, we just started dating and became exclusive, and that's how it went.
Now, you said that you had mentioned to me that he had moved to be closer to you. And I thought that was just an interesting point, if you could flesh that out, because a lot of times couples are faced with a decision like that. And usually, for some reason, maybe societal pressures as well, a woman will move to be closer to her guy. And, the kind of onus of holding the relationship together might fall on her. And that was not the case for you at all. Can you explain to us what happened there?
He did. I was in school. I was at Rutgers. And we were over there. We talked every day on the phone since the day we met. And he just wanted to be closer to me up there. And his sister I was 2 hours away from our hometown, from the block, from the stoop. And his sister lived away like 20 minutes from the college. So he decided to move up there to be closer to me, so that he can be supporting me, not supporting me financially, but supportive of me while I was up there at school. And he just wanted to be closer.
Okay, so guys, listen up. He moved to be closer to Nery, not exclusively, which I would not recommend, and kind of hedging your whole bet and your whole life, unhinging it rather, on a person. Instead, he had family, so he had some kind of support system and was grounded, but he made an effort. And that's something that I think men do, and I don't want to make a blanket statement, but when they're interested, you certainly know it by actions and demonstrations. And to me, that was a very demonstrative act, akin to a little bit of a mating dance. There's some action that happens, and he did that. And so, ladies, if you're out there and you're seeing someone and you're wondering, how serious is he? What is he willing to do? And it doesn't mean you have to put up hoops for him to jump through. It just means you need to pay attention to the subtle actions and not the big words. Okay. So, sounds like he was really sure. And can I say your husband's name? Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Victor. Because I'm like, he, and I want to, Victor, let's put a wonderful name to this great guy. So it sounds like he was really sure. And so my next question is, this is a question we all want to know. What was the proposal like? Did you have a proposal story? How did he propose? Was it anything that was notable, funny, quirky? What was it?
Well, it's so funny because